Hello and welcome. Today's topic is all about journaling, and journaling is really a powerful tool that impacts our brain in so many ways positively, with trauma, with anxiety, with sleep, just decluttering your brain. It's super powerful. If you're not journaling yet, you're missing out on a really good free resource.
Free.
Free resource. We love free resources. So journaling is free. And it really doesn't matter if you're a total beginner and you've never done it, or if you're a pro, it has great impact. And we're going to cover some really good strategies, how to get started, but also the benefits a little bit more. And hopefully this inspires you to get started in journaling, because I'll be honest with you, I didn't like it for the longest time, but you have to you can find your strategies, and we're sharing some in today's episode. So let's get started. Coffee with Coaches. I'm Heike Fallon. I'm a neuro high performance coach. I teach and coach my clients self-leadership with a brain-based approach, and journaling is always a big component of gaining more clarity and enhancing your self-leadership.
Hi, I'm Shannon Pasalakwa. I am also a high performance coach, and I specialize in helping women heal after miscarriage and help them find the tools that will reduce their trauma. And this is one of the ones that I always suggest.
Yeah, and you've done a lot of journaling yourself, so you're definitely the long format journaling.
But I hate journaling. I don't hate it. I hated it, and I always thought it was I don't know. I avoided it for so long, and I'll tell a quick story, which I can't remember if I've told it before. Anyway, after I went through my miscarriages, it was a couple years later, I was still experiencing anxiety and PTSD from my miscarriages, and I decided to start a blog and write out everything, my experience and everything that had happened, in order to hopefully help other women after they experience their miscarriages. And so I started, and I typed it out. I started writing all about my story and my miscarriages, and I cried through it. I probably drank too much wine through it, but but it was very cathartic, and I didn't really realize I wasn't doing it with the intention of healing that part of me, but it did. And I found it so cathartic and so healing to actually put it out. It was like it was leaving my body and going on to something else. And from there, I started researching the effects of journaling and why it's so important. And it is one of those tools that it's so easy and it's so free, like we said, and it's such an easy access point to help us heal our trauma. And there is research to show that when you go through a traumatic experience, and I want to be crystal clear about what a traumatic experience is, because we throw that word around a lot. A traumatic experience is defined as something that changes the way that we think or the way that we act. So it has to actually change something in your brain. It has to change how you are showing up and reacting to situations. So that's trauma. When you go through a traumatic experience, one of the best ways, besides going to talk therapy, one of the best ways to heal from that is to actually journal. And it has to be in a specific way. It needs to be in full, complete sentences, and it needs to be detailed and specific. So that is journaling for trauma. And that's what I found to be true. I was writing a blog, so it was full, complete sentences. And the reason for that is your body, your brain is processing and almost desensitizing the way that you're viewing it. So I've learned to love journaling.
Well, you already, that's so awesome. Thank you for sharing that, because the truth is, you had already actually multiple components in there, right? It helps us declutter our mind by actually putting it on the paper. We get also a separation a little bit
Yeah.
from it. We gain a lot of clarity by having to form words that we're going to put on a paper. Our prefrontal cortex has to really think about it, and we have to, and other areas of the brain have to work and function there to with the language processing and such. To put that on a piece of paper, that act of journaling helps us to gain more clarity of our own emotions, and also helps with our processing of the events that happened. And so just the act of journaling and what happens in the brain as we do it can rewire the brain in that moment already.
Yeah. I loved it.
Yeah, and not just for trauma. For sleep, I recommend it a lot too for my clients with sleep. If you're the kind who can't fall asleep because you have lots of things on your
Who
to-do
doesn't?
list and all the things you need to take care of, if you struggle with sleep, journaling can be a really powerful tool to do in the evening. Or like, actually, I had somebody, for them it worked right after work, because they would carry their work thoughts all into the evening, and if they would put it down right before bedtime, then they would keep thinking about it. Instead, to do it, the journaling right after work, to get it all done and then
And
be
leave it
able to
there.
enjoy your evening
Yeah.
and separate work from your family time and your evening time. Or again, right, in some were integrated in your evening routine. Journaling can be really helpful to, write down your thoughts, your emotions, things that happen, and that way your brain can separate from it
Yeah.
and get a good night's sleep.
I love that. I think that's so valuable, because then you're present with whatever it is that's going on at home, right? And you're separating that and you're present. I actually have a lot of clients who will journal in the morning. Well, both, because in the evening, it's really hard to fall asleep because you're thinking about all these racing thoughts, right? And they're just kind of on a loop. And when you're on a loop, you got to just put it down. And for that, it doesn't always have to be a full sentence, but you just want to put it down and get it out of your brain so that so you aren't always researching, right? Like when you're going through difficult times, sometimes you're just always like, okay, well, let me find the reason why this happened. And you're just scrolling through social media or through what your research. In the morning, oftentimes my clients, including myself, wake up with anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just so much anxiety just right when you wake up. And it's like all these thoughts like, oh God, I have to go through the day with all of this. And it's so important to just take 3 to 5 minutes and put those thoughts down.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I have a component of journaling in the morning too. Now, my journaling isn't like the big pages and full sentences it is, but not like pages long. I love journaling prompts. So actually my planner, who's back there, that I created, does have a morning and evening routine journaling with very short prompt and very short. Now, obviously can be done longer, but there's definitely something said about journaling in the morning alone. That's what helped me to be more productive. Journaling in the morning and structuring what's happening and what I need to take care of and what I can think later of has helped me with really structuring my day better. Now, the other thing too is, want to just come back to it. There's the brain needs to make sense, right, of all the things that are happening to us, and tries to figure out the world that we're in.
Yeah.
And the problem is, of everything going so fast, back to back, and in the little breaks that we normally would have, I'm saying like waiting in line at the grocery store. Nowadays, if you look around, people on
Yeah.
their
Everyone's on their
phone,
phone.
everybody that is on their phones doing something, and there's never a short break
Yeah. To
where
process.
the brain can just process the events and the things and the
Right.
stimuli
Even like at
happen.
stoplights, right? Like
Yeah.
at stoplights, we check our phone. When we're walking down the hallway, we check our phone.
Yeah. So which is called it's part of it's called the default network of the brain, which is very important in processing and making sense of the world. And we don't tap into it if we're constantly stimulating our brain. And that little moment of stopping and reflecting throughout the day is lost. So now to actually sit down and journaling is even more powerful because we need it even more. Otherwise, I would recommend don't use the phone in line. But
yeah, don't check your phone while you're driving.
exactly. But the point is, we're constantly overloading our brain, and it's not a surprise that we're stressed, overwhelmed, anxiety, you name it, and we're having a hard time coping. So journaling even so much more important nowadays to stop, think about our thoughts, kind of make sense of the world, and organize the thoughts, because we don't take time throughout the day to do that.
That's interesting. And it leads into all the data that shows that journaling, people who journal are healthier. They miss less days at work.
Yep.
They're more effective at work. They tend to be happier.
Mm-hmm.
I just think it's really interesting, and it helps your immune system. And I think it's when you're releasing that stress.
Yep.
And when you're, if you're doing gratitude, that type of journaling, you're gonna up your gratitude and your happiness levels, and you're reducing your anxiety. And so, I mean, that just lends to that idea, right? Like another reason to journal. Listen, if you don't want to journal because you're like, I don't know, that seems kind of dorky or whatever, do
Old
it to
style.
become right. Do it to become like better at work, or to miss less days. Though I don't. I want to miss days at work. To be more present with your family, to be a happier person. If you want to improve your immune system,
Yeah.
journal.
Yeah. No.
5 minutes a day.
Absolutely. And it's really about the consistency. So for anybody starting, if you haven't journaled, I highly recommend have some kind of consistency. Pay attention to, when it fits into your schedule, if it's more the morning, more midday, more evening, but having some kind of consistency, because it's not like you journal once and you're like, whoo,
Oh, God,
this
I feel
is so
much
great.
better.
We all want quick fixes, but this is really more about integrating it into a healthy lifestyle. And for that, it needs to be a somewhat consistent level. So I highly recommend, if you're not journaling yet, try to figure out a good time when it's convenient for you. And then also figure out what kind of journaling and which way you would like to do it. Now,
Right.
I still highly recommend to all of my clients, do it with a pen and paper.
Yeah.
There is different processing happening when we're actually moving and writing, handwriting, the way certain areas of the brain are activated compared to typing on the computer. At the end of the day, though, pick what works for you. The digital type does not work for me. Again, find what works for you.
Right.
Buy a nice, journal book or find something that, looks
That
really
you want to open.
that you want to open, you're excited about, that looks pretty to you. Or use, like I said, an app. There's lots of apps out, or some kind of digital type of format. Again, you're not getting that same with the digital typing as you do with the handwriting.
Well, and some phones just released a journal app, like journal prompts, which I think is interesting. Like that, they're obviously seeing the positivity of journaling, and I do have some clients who use it.
Yeah, and actually the prompts can be really beneficial, because otherwise you might journal over and over in the same direction, right? And journal prompts can help you to maybe explore areas that you hadn't thought about. And they can be really helpful to push yourself out of your comfort zone a little bit, in areas to think, that you wouldn't normally go to, or you hadn't even thought about thinking. And so
I have journal prompts for my clients, and I think it's good because it has them thinking about different aspects, like you said, It's not just focused solely on their loss, but it's focused on other things. So I think journal prompts are very important.
Absolutely. So they can be great way to start journaling, but they can also, if somebody's already really journaling for years and years, that can kind of, give you a new, interesting, inspiring direction if
Focus.
if you follow journaling prompt. And then I think the biggest thing is to don't worry about
Right.
don't worry about what you're writing, if it's correct
Don't judge
grammar,
it.
spelling.
No one's reading it.
No one should read it. Point is, the journaling is for you, right? For you to just process the events that are happening, declutter, make sense of your emotions, gain clarity. It doesn't matter how it looks on the paper, how pretty it is, how correct it is.
Right.
Nobody judges you, and you shouldn't judge yourself. Just freely write and don't worry about it. Yes, you used it as a block and publish it, then you might reread it a little bit. But technically, if you journaling is for yourself, it's a personal thing. Don't worry about it. Just write. Even if you didn't like writing in school back then, that doesn't mean anything. Just utilize it and enjoy it.
This doesn't have to be super creative. You're
No.
getting your feelings out. You're just bleh.
Yeah, that's totally fine.
No, don't even think about it. Bleh.
Exactly. So those are great tips for beginners. And if you're already journaling, like I said, different prompts can help, or different types, like you mentioned, gratitude journaling. That is something that's in my planner as well. But also journaling in specific ways can, you can tweak it and change it a little bit, change it up a little bit. Also, what you've done, I have not done as much, but actually going back and reviewing and reading it, right? When you used it as a blog, you went back and reviewed, and that can be beneficial. Sometimes
It's actually interesting because I have had an opportunity to look at it, and I wrote it years ago. And it's amazing how much I've grown and how much progress I've made.
Yeah.
Because I've put a lot of work into it, but it's amazing how it is if you do have a chance to read it and it doesn't make you uncomfortable. Sometimes reading my own stuff I'm not comfortable with.
Number one is take the judgment out.
Yeah. It's hard to not judge
No
yourself.
judgment, but it's for somebody who's already been journaling, right? So who's already been doing it. If you want to take it up a notch, you might take a look at, old things that you wrote, and no judgment though, but look at them again. You might realize, wow, I progressed, I came a long way. And you also might find like, oh, look at that, I used certain words, that was, the thoughts I had. And sometimes that can be powerful when you're struggling with certain limiting beliefs, to look back of where they were and maybe identify certain limiting beliefs in there, which then you can shift.
Yeah, because you might see patterns, right? Patterns in like how that's very interesting.
Yeah, so that can be but I would not recommend that for beginners. I would recommend
don't
that.
even worry about that if you're
Don't worry about all that.
Just get dipping your toes in there. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, don't worry about that. That's okay. But somebody who's been journaling, you can use your journaling really for self-development in a lot of different ways. So it can be very powerful.
Don't drink while you're on camera.
That's okay. That's okay. I choked the other day. Yeah, and
I choke all the time. I think it's old age.
Yeah, now you can bring it up another notch too if you're already a pro. Some of my clients like to do it. I usually I have not done it, but setting specific goals that you have or intentions. So for example, when you journal and you're feeling miserable, but your intention can be like, hey, I'm going to put this out and I want to afterwards feel a certain way, and I'm going to shift it around. So you might even bring it up to a next level. Now for me, I didn't really like the writing component in school, so I'm a little far away from that one. That feels too much, too structured for me on the writing. But I have clients that really it works for them really, really well. They love writing, love journaling, and you can really take that up to whole new levels if you like to.
I love that because it can be so transformative. Transformative. Yeah.
Yeah, transformative. Absolutely.
It's a good
So
idea.
those are really great strategies for beginners, for pros, journaling, and I know we reference it in a lot of other conversations
Yes.
we had. It is so beneficial in so many ways for stress, anxiety, sleep, trauma, immune system, gut
Yeah. And
function.
it's got all of it. It's going to make you more mindful,
Yep. Yep. Oh, that's another one
more
for the pros.
present.
That's another one for the pros to add actually mindfulness more into your journaling. But yeah, we're present. We're really in the moment and working really on the mindfulness, the presence, and really doing a whole lot of good for our brain, our body, and it's free.
It's free. It's a free resource. Just try it.
All you need is a pen and
Just
a
try
paper.
it.
Yes. So thank you, Shannon. Great conversation. Hopefully served a lot of people and inspired you as a viewer to start journaling. Again, might just start small with a little prompt, or if you're a pro, go deeper, challenge yourself a little bit and bring it up to another level. And until next time, Coffee with
Yeah.
Coaches.
Thank you.
Make sure to watch another of our videos right here, somewhere popping up. Till next time.
Bye.